tell you what, out here on the Gumbow Creek, just outside of Kahuna where we live, we're pretty bloody lucky to have this. Sarah, we've come out here today. Sarah's gone for a ride on her horse, and I figure while she's gone, I'm going to make a steak sandwich. I brought the Darchi fire pit. I'll use it this morning. There's a fire pit right here, but that thing doesn't look like it's been cleaned for a while, and I won't be using that. So I'll get that set up. I'll go cut some firewood, and we'll get cooking. I've gone and cut a little bit of wood there with this Makita. I don't know if you guys have seen me with this Makita before. This is a DUC 400, so it's 400mm blade on it, no, bar on it. It's fantastic for doing what I do here. Just the small stuff, like 2 inches in diameter. That's sort of like the perfect width of wood to get a good coal base. It's like perfect for cooking. You get the bigger stuff to burn all night, but for all I'm doing here is just making some lunch. So I've just got a couple of branches there. I'll cut them up, get a fire going, and make some lunch. This one is kind of my go-to, if you like, when we're just doing one meal. We're stopping, but I want to use a fire. Because we're out bush, Sarah's gone for probably an hour and a half or so for a ride. And I find that this fire pit here is perfect for this. It's the main reason is I don't need to dig a hole to make a fire pit. I'm not going to get a big raging fire going. And when I'm finished, I can pick all this up and just toss all the ash into the creek there if I really needed to. Well, there's water right here that I can put it out with. So it's the perfect setup. But these things aren't rocket science to use. You set him up, you put him into these brackets here, clip them down. There are so many that are just like this. Sanhema make them, Kings make them, pretty much everyone makes them. They probably all come out of the same factory in China, to be honest. But there's one thing about this one that I really like. I'm not sure if the others have it. I'll show you. One of them is this baseboard. It's like a plate on the bottom here. And that helps with the air circulation, getting the fire nice and hot. And the other one is the rack that you use. And this rack, because it's got these adjustments on here, we can make it higher or lower depending on how hot you want it all. And that I find is very handy for cooking. So what we've got here is a small pile of larger wood, smaller pile of even smaller wood, because the fire pit itself isn't that wide. I think this is 450 size, this one here. So these lumps of wood here are only, they're maybe 8 inches long, and that's about it. They're perfect for this sort of fire pit. For what we're doing today, it's just a piece of steak. I'll probably cook some onions on here. That's enough. That's all the wood that we need. You might have seen when I was cutting up, I used this shovel here. That's like a bit of a safety thing for me. When you're, most of the time I'm solo camping. So not today, I'm not even camping today, but most of the time I am solo. So you kind of got to think of safety a bit more uppermost. So with things like chainsaws are inherently dangerous. The more safety things that you can do with that, the better. In saying that, I don't wear chaps and stuff like that. Always do it with jeans on. Always have something on my face as far as glasses or safety glasses, depending on what the day is that I'm wearing. But I always use the shovel, and the shovel helps with any sort of kickback from any wood. You don't really get that too much with the brushless stuff that I've witnessed myself versus the two-stroke chainsaws. But because you're on your own, you just got to be a little bit more mindful of the risk of the activity that you're playing with. And the float here actually works really well as a bit of a caravan for the two of us. We haven't got it set up as a caravan now because we brought the horse today. Well, mind you, everything's in there that we would normally use. But I'll show you. In under here is the fridge. And the thing with the steak is you want to kind of get it out of the refrigeration so it's not too cold. This is not exactly, it's just a barbecue steak, so it's pretty thin. It's already been tenderized, if you like, had the shit beaten out of it. This here, this sauce, let me tell you about this. So if you watch other stuff that we do on the other channels, so this is the four-wheel driving channel, obviously, but if you watch, say, the Windella Farm channel, you know that we have businesses from the farm. And one of them is the Buck and Beard and the Windella farm, like there's goat milk soap and stuff. And as a result, we go to all different events to sell this stuff. So we went up to Canberra a couple of weeks ago now, and I encourage you to do this because these are all small businesses, small artisan sort of businesses. But if you get to see, as you're driving around the countryside and you go to big markets and things like this, and you see them in the small towns, just call in there and have a look, because this, what is this called? Kilty's Aussie Pie Sauce. This is the best tomato sauce I've ever tasted. And it was made by an artisan maker. He's from, I think the Central Coast in New South Wales, I think they are. But this is the best sauce I've ever had. And it elevates the game a little bit. Like what we're cooking here today is just a piece of steak. I'll do some onions. I think I've got some coleslaw and some bread rolls. That's it. But this elevates it somewhat. So you can still do something pretty bloody simple and make it that little bit better with this sort of sauce. So as you're touring around and you see this sort of thing, most of them takes like, depending on the size of them obviously, but some of the small country town markets, you can walk around that sucker in 20 minutes. Go and have a look, see what people, because homemade, handmade stuff is always better, always better. So I encourage you to do that. These are fantastic knives though. I'm going to chop up some onions. These here, these are really good. If you're on the road a bit, these are quite good to have. You don't need to carry as much, or you don't use as much cling wrap. So when you're cutting up an onion, because I'm the only one that actually eats any onion, Sarah doesn't eat it at all, so there's no point me chopping up a whole onion, I'm not going to eat it. So if you cut up just the bit that you want, in fact today, because I'm cooking it, I'm going to use all of this, but I've used some of this for a sandwich or something, and these here, these are silicone, and you just put these over the piece of food, like the tomato, the onion, whatever, and that keeps it, like, that there is still fresh. That's red hot. Anyway. So get some oil, because we'll season the steak, and this is one of those occasions where I've got stuff in the car but not in the float. Oil. Now, I always use something like rice bran oil or sunflower, something that you can use a high temperature, especially when you're cooking on fire. So I don't want to throw this on there when it's cold out of the fridge, but we do want to season it a little bit as well. All this sort of stuff just elevates it that bit more. It's more enjoyable, I think. So we'll get some paper towel. Just going to pat that dry. This will, when it's dry and all we're doing is adding the oil to it, it's going to help it get that nice crisp on the outside of the meat, because it'll be pretty quick cook to do this. This should do the two of us, cut it in half, a couple of bread rolls, should be sweet. So that's nice and dry now. Put it back in there. Now we'll season it. And this goes back a little bit more again to what I was talking about with small country markets. These two things out of two different containers. There's a garlic farmer that comes to our local market, and he does all these garlic salts. This one here is garlic and lime and chili, I think it is, and this one's just regular garlic salt. I'm going to use this one today. So what we'll do is put a bit of oil on him and spread that around, sprinkle some of that garlic on there, do the other side, and just leave it. Then we wait until we're ready to cook. A few big knobs of garlic there, bits of chili, sensational. Time to grab a beer, I reckon. Great Northern's all that's in the fridge. Figure while I'm waiting for Sarah to come on back. What's stubby called? Morris Motors. Morris Motors. They're in Kyabram in Victoria. These are the guys who put the heavy duty clutch in the 76 series and gave it the tune. And I've got to tell you, when I picked it up, it was like a brand new car. Well worth going there. I'm not sure where you guys are. If you're in anywhere in central Victoria, north central Victoria, it's worth going to. I think it cost me, I think it was about $3.5 or $4 grand, something like that, to do the heavy duty clutch and the tune. Ripper job they did too. Very happy. Can't recommend them enough. Hungry? How good the onions smell? You want normal tomato sauce, or are you happy with that one?
Happy with this one. I'm happy with this one. First Sunday off in about a month. Right out the bush. Campfire lunch cooked by Shane. Doesn't get much better than this. See how it tastes.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff.